The conversation originally started by you have to be at a dance studio your 4 years of high school to even make it onto an elite college dance team, turned into, well, hang on, high schools also offer great resources for dancers to make it somewhere far out of high school, which has now turned into, well, hang on, coaches from dance studios to high schools don't even want to work with each other. So I brought in 5 coaches to come and have a chat, sit down. Let's talk about the difference between high school and dance studio. Let's talk about what we are doing to prepare our athletes for post high school life. So, whether you are a dance studio coach, dance studio teacher, dance studio owner, or a high school advisor, high school coach, high school coordinator, parent, athlete, our 5 guests that we have joining me today come from all different backgrounds. From strictly studio only, we don't allow our dancers to compete with another team, to dance studio to high school coach relationship. This is how we work with one another. To I only teach at a high school level, but we also allow our dancers to go to a dance studio to train. This episode's for you. Stay tuned. Hey, my name is Kyle Rush, and you are watching the No Counts Given podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the No Counts Given podcast, the premier podcast for dance and dance team. I am your host, Kyle Rush, and today we have a very exciting episode, a long episode, definitely our longest episode yet. 5 coaches come and join me for a chat in the conversation and topic of high school dance versus studio dance. Now, before we get into it, of course, I'm going to talk about the rankings from Dance Team Union. Hello. Okay, listen, if you are not familiar with the rankings, that's fine because it is new this year. They just launched it this year. And as a coach, I was introduced to Dance Team Union virtually through COVID. I needed somewhere for my dance studio to compete. Dance Team Union was offering competitions, and immediately I was like, let's try it. They're cost efficient. I hear great things about them. Let's try it. And from that first virtual competition, I was hooked. I was hooked on the feedback that we're getting, the transparency that we're getting, the scoring. They're not fitting us into a mold. They're accepting our style for our style and not saying this is how we want you and what we want to see on the floor. So it's something I greatly appreciated about Dance Team Union. And if you are thinking about switching over to Dance Team Union, this is a great year to dip your toes into the water because the rankings are coming out and it is something very exciting. DTU will host a series of 4 virtual events during the season collectively called the rankings. So it does not matter where you compete. You could compete at UDA, you could compete at NDA, you could compete at DTU, West Coast Elite, USA. It does not matter. You can submit your videos into the rankings monthly. There is one November, there is one December, January, and February, and you can see where you rank amongst all of those teams. Whether you go to NDA, UDA, USA, DTU, WCE, all of them, you can submit and you can see where you are ranked and how you place amongst teams from across the country, which is something that I appreciate because, hello, I come from California. Our dance team world in California is small. We don't have a lot of competitions. There's not a lot of studios out here, and it's hard and very, very financially draining to take your athletes out of state across the country just to see how you could compare against other teams across the country. Whether you are a seasoned competitor or it's your first time at a DTU event, this is your chance to be a part of something amazing. Now, this is what you need to know. Dance teams will submit videos of their performances that will be scored and verbally critiqued by DTU judges. The total score of each routine per style will be placed on a list from highest to lowest for each event date. For school teams, they have pom, jazz, hip hop, team performance, kick, and military. For all-star teams, pom, jazz, hip hop, kick, contemporary, lyrical, and variety. And there are no limits to the number of routines you can submit. Now, check out these awards, okay? Because if you're thinking about switching over to DTU, but you're like, this year is not the year, I need to give it a year, then maybe next year, I would still encourage you to do this because if you are a winner, especially for, well, I guess mainly for school teams, if you are a winner, and you place the highest out of the rankings out of all four of those. Now, I didn't mention it. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on here, but you do have to teams have to be registered for at least 3 of the 4 rankings in that division. It does say it here right there at the bottom. Any team that does not register for the minimum number of events will still be ranked. Enter any rankings event and receive scores and video critiques from DTU judging panel and any eligible dance styles. So pretty much what it's saying is in order to receive these prizes, you have to do at least 3, okay? Now, you could do 1 and you could still be placed on the rankings, but if you want that final award, you have to do at least 3. School teams, okay? If you're competing at the 2026 DTU National Championships, you can go straight to finals by placing the highest out of your category in your division. Okay. Now, a bid to the 2027 DTU Nationals can also be rewarded if you are not attending DTU this year, but you want to go next year. Okay, now for my all-star teams, you can get an at-large bid to the All-Star World Championships. Now, if you are not familiar with the All-Star World Championships, I highly encourage you to educate yourself on it. Go to allstarworldchampionships.com. DTU does a great job on the dance side at All-Star World Championships, and it's actually one of the main reasons why I started taking my teams in the past to the All-Star World Championships, because I just love what DTU offers, and no one does it like DTU. So whether you are a coach, a director, an advisor, and you are looking for something fresh, you are looking for something new, you are looking for something exciting, I highly encourage you to check out the rankings. And guess what? I will be covering the rankings right here on my podcast. If you are submitting yourself into the rankings, I'm going to see it. I'm going to talk about it. Hello? What else do I need to say? What else do I need to say? Start registering for the rankings, and I will see you there. Now, before we get into this podcast episode, I just have to say thank you to all of our guests. I'm not going to introduce them right here because I let them introduce themselves in the beginning of the interview. So I just want to say thank you to all of the guests that joined me for this much needed conversation. It is something that I'm very passionate about, and I know that there are so many coaches out there that are also passionate about how do we get our athletes to a higher level team or a professional team, or what can we do to support our athletes post high school life? And I'm very thankful for our guests to join me in this conversation. So I'm not going to hold the intro any longer. The interview is already long. This episode's already long. So here we go. Let's get into the interview. I hope you guys enjoy. First of all, thank you everyone for hopping on. Right before you hopped on, Shanna, I was saying, I don't know what time zone you're in, but like, especially if you're in Central or like Eastern, I appreciate you guys like hopping on, especially at a later time and doing this episode with me. This conversation started from like, where's the best place to train to make it far in your career, to like this debate on high school versus studio. And I know I'm especially here in California, it's way different than it might be in like Wisconsin or Florida or Colorado. And I travel and I do a lot of choreography and I hear a lot of fun and great stories, but also a lot of horror stories as well too. And the one thing that I find with having conversations is that there's not a lot of public resources. And I think having this discourse online in a public forum where people could hear, take advice, maybe they hear something that they like, they could take with them. But also I just want to hear from different sides. So before we get started and I hop into questions, I'll popcorn this one just to make it easier. Just do me a favor, let's just go around, introduce yourself. What's your background? Where do you coach now? Where did you coach? All of the fun stuff.
Hi, I'm Holly Beth. I coach the Sulphur High School Twisters. We're in Louisiana. I was not on a high school dance team. I was a straight studio dancer. I ended up taking over the job of high school coach about 8 or 9 years ago, and the team I was on was not competitive or the team I coached. Sorry, the team I coached was not competitive at all, and my dream was to get them to a competitive spot, and so that happened a lot quicker than I had planned, and then kind of the stars aligned perfectly. me and Bryce, we've known each other and we knew of each other. But then she came on board with me, and then she'll tell you her story of how she ended up where she is and the piece of it. But I have such a strong feeling about all of this, and I have such a strong feeling because me and her, we do make it work. We make it work very well, and I feel like the only way for each other to get better is for her studio to get better, and for my team, which we're both a part of each other, is for both of us to exist.
I'm Bryce, obviously, and I grew up in a studio dancing, and then I tried out for Tiger Girls at LSU, and I danced for LSU for 4 years. And then I graduated, got married, had a family, and then Holly Beth asked me to judge the tryout for the high school team. And after from that tryout, I was just hooked. I was like, these kids are so talented. And then I was kind of involved that first year. And then we were hit with Hurricane Laura and then COVID. And there was no dance studio in our town. So we had this like these amazing kids on this team, and I was like, they need a place to go and dance. So I opened a studio in 2022 and been going strong ever since.
All right, so my name is Ashley. I'm half of Cashney. That's my wife. Her name is Courtney. So together we're Cashney, Courtney, and Ashley. We're a little unique and a little different. I opened the studio at 23. My wife was around 26, 27. She really started our journey back in 2011. She owned another studio. We were small, competitive, and then in 2012-ish, we discovered UDA, and we watched UNLV the first time when they did snapbacks and tattoos, and we looked at each other and we said, how do we do that? And from there, that was our goal. To just get our kids more competitive. Our studio grew, and our kids, they dance studio life. So you guys know that, like, right, the star powers, the break the floor events. Also, I'm from New Jersey. If you guys don't know, I use my hands a lot, and I'm going to talk really fast. Um, so slow me down if I need to slow down. Um, and the studio life is great, but we wanted something a little bit more for them. So then we did the industry route, and we've won World of Dance, we've done Prelude New York, and then our dancers were getting signed by like Clear Talent, MSA, and we said to them, this was like about 2017, like, all right, like, who wants to move to LA when you guys graduate? And no one raised their hand. And me and Courtney were like, okay, so like, what do you guys want to do? Like, I want to be a doctor. Like, I want to go to college. So we got in the car that night, and I was like, "So do we close our studio?" And she was like, "No, we need to figure out how are we getting these kids to college, but for dance team. So they get to go to college, but they get to still dance and do 4 more years." And that's kind of how now All Star was born in 2017 in our studio. So we do studio life, which is like break the floor events, star power. We do industry life, which is World of Dance and Prelude, and we also do All Star life, and that's the UDA, NDA. Worlds is our biggest event. Also, my wife and I, we started the high school dance team in our town in 2020 because there was that's the high school I went to. We never had a dance team at that school, so we coincide the studio, kind of like you guys were saying, and we blended from our studio and the Cliffside Park dance team, and we went to states. We did that whole thing. We actually just gave it up this past year to alumni, and we passed it over to them because we had a baby. And our focus has really been our worlds program. So we kind of do it all, uh, and we our kids are very committed. So because we offer every single path.
I am the head dance coach of DuPont Manual High School. I have been there, the Dazzlers. I have been there for, this is my ninth season, so 9 years. I did not come from studio. I was strictly a school dancer my entire life. I then went on and did semi-pro dance teams whenever I was in college. We are located here in Louisville, Kentucky, so it is very saturated with a lot of really strong dance programs, a lot of really strong studio programs, and what I've been trying to do for these past 9 years is figure out how to blend both. I definitely grew up in a family that frankly just could not afford to do both. So I had to pick one, and I was also a musical theater kid, so I chose school dance because I got the other dance through musical theater. But it's been really tough in our area trying to show the value to studios for both, because there's a lot of mindsets with the studios around here of they don't need to do school dance. We provide enough opportunities for them here. But at the end of the day, we've sent off a lot of our girls to go dance in college for D1A programs. And a lot of studio dancers, they do go to like Boston Conservatory, and they go on to performing arts side of things because that's their journey. So what I'm trying to do is really bridge that gap between the studio dancers that do want to go dance collegiately, and show that we can do both. Yeah, like there are benefits to studio dance and school dance. And I think living in the same space and working cohesively ultimately will be what's best for the kids.
Thanks for having me, and it's so nice to meet all of you ladies. Yes, my name is Shanna Kirkpatrick. I own two dance schools in the Houston area, one in Friendswood and one in Pearland. We're going into our 20th year of studio ownership, and I can very much resonate with Kirstie about saying that, we want our dancers to be very well rounded. We have three tracks in our studio. We have our recreational track, because we believe that our rec dancers are very important. They're actually what pay the bills mostly in a dance studio. And then we have our classical track. We train a lot of dancers who want to go into modern, into ballet, whether that's on the collegiate level or just start auditioning for ballet companies. And then we have our competitive track, and we have 6 teams on Chara Elevate, that is called. And we go to studio competitions, the masquerades, the Hall of Fames, showstoppers, all of that. But then we obviously, being in Texas, are in big drill team world, which I can feel and sense the dance team culture taking over the drill team culture and see that evolution. So I'm really excited to be on this call today, because as a studio, we're trying to be ahead of that. And so we're really integrating a lot of POM and dance team style. I know there's the debate of, is it a style or is it an entity type thing, but really integrating that, because we have girls who want to go dance on college dance teams. So like I said, we just want our dancers to be really well-rounded and to walk into any dance environment and feel completely equipped to go into that and be successful at our studios.
Absolutely. And that kind of takes me into like my first topic I really want to cover, which is the coach to coach relationship and like building that foundation with coach to coach. My background, I had dancers where they would be at the studio, and then in my town we would have 5 other high schools, so it would be me working with the 5 other high schools, going through schedules, figuring out what could work, right? And some coaches it's easy, some coaches it's like pulling teeth. So I kind of want to go into that, and I kind of feel like Holly, Beth, and Bryce, maybe you guys would be probably great for this, that coach to coach relationship. Why is it so important, right? And my main thing is I always think what's best for the kids, what's best for the dancer, take my ego out of it, which is the most important thing, which I think a lot of coaches forget. But why is that relationship so important to have for our athletes?
I actually literally I took notes today, and the thing that I put is stability at the top matters, because we both have to remember it's what's best for the kids. Right now with my team, and in the last few years since Bryce opened her studio, we have been fortunate where all of our team members do dance for this studio. Now, I will say, like 15 minutes east and west of us, there are other dance studios, and they have kids that go to Sulphur High as well. And I'm hoping, and I just want more people to love dance and more people to be able to dance for their high school. So I know that eventually it will not always be just me and Bryce working together. And the one thing I put is that we are the adults. We have like our relationship, if we're negative to each other, we're the moldy fruit. And if you have a moldy strawberry in a group, then we're going to mold everybody else, and everybody else in our realm, in our world, is our girls or is our dancers. Yes. And if we're not on the same page, if we don't respect each other's roles, if we don't respect each other's time and energy and all that, and then work together, how are we going to expect 13 to 20 of them to do that? And so we have a very good relationship. We are best friends. But it's taught me a lot for hopefully the future of having to deal with other studio owners and making sure that I can only control myself, but that I make it as easy of a, relationship, and a positive relationship and a respectful relationship.
So I coached for, I want to say this was maybe like 6 years. I was coaching at a studio, and I saw how the other coaches were demanding a lot of the athletes' time to the point where um, they weren't able to do other extracurricular activities, and it was hard to be at the studio because they're ending practice at 8 p.m. and all of the fun stuff. And yeah, I know, honestly. And then it wasn't
They're still
until
kids. Everybody
I
does forget that too.
thank
They
you.
forget that they're still kids.
Thank you. Thank you. And for a long time, it was hard for me to appreciate what school cheer or school dance brings to an athlete. And my old athletes would probably laugh at this, but it wasn't until I actually danced pro. I danced for the NBA for 2 years, and I got to feel like the game day life and being under the lights and supporting a crowd. And it was after that where I was like, this is fun. I think everyone should go and do this. I get it, right? But the coach thing like never actually changed. It was like constant pulling teeth, right? Do we feel like that is something because of a coach's ego, like the wins and the accomplishments are more important to the coach versus the growth and where the athlete could end up after high school should be more important? Dance Team Union regional competitions are unlike any other. DTU has created an atmosphere that is not only friendly and competitive, but brings your community together to support one another in a sport you all share and love. DTU values innovation and the determination to create. Your team spend hours perfecting material and pushing the boundaries for choreography. It does not go unnoticed at Dance Team Union. At DTU, you do not go home empty-handed. They award placements in every division for every routine, select special awards to standout routines, and offer partial paid bids to our Dance Team Union National Championships and All-Star Worlds with their partners at the Open Championship Series. So what are you waiting for? Find out when they will be heading to a city near you for their 10th season by visiting www.danceteamunion.com.
That can be such a scary thing to have a coach with that big of an ego, because like being on a team that competed and stuff, like it really was just never about winning. It's about like the bonds and like the relationships you make on the team. And like I really feel like our team and our girls look at each other as like that's their family. And I also think that if you, like, as a coach, if all we want to do was win, then we would be putting our kids in the easiest category where you're competing against 6 other teams. It's like the least competitive. And like, we're like, no, we're not doing that. If we're going to go to competition, you're going to work this hard. We're going to go into the small Division 1 jazz or competition with
Yeah.
90 teams and do our best and still make it to finals. And like, that's the accomplishment, because there's 70 some of the teams that didn't make it, instead of like being in such a small, and like, we always preach not to take the easy way out. Like, if you want to be the best, you got to compete against the best. And like, if not, what are we all doing? Because why do we want to teach a kid that? That's like not setting them up for anything in the
Any
real
life
world.
lessons at all.
Shanna, I felt like you wanted to say something. I felt like there was something wanted to come out.
Sure. So, having a private studio and then drill team being very big, I see, a lot of studios and get really defensive and not want their dancers to go off to drill team. That for us happens freshman, definitely sophomore year. And we've just taken the opposite perspective of their wins are our wins and their goals are our goals. When they win, my studio wins and it looks a lot better. And I have dancers come dance with me. So even though we lose them at a young age, For our public school kids, we have a lot of private school and a lot of homeschool kids as well. That's a win. That's a blessing. Actually, tonight at my studio, we invited all of our drill team girls, dance team girls to the studio to take a picture in front of our studio with their boots and with their hat, because we're going to celebrate them on social media when football games start, and just definitely having a good relationship with their coaches. It's very valuable to me, to link arms with them.
There is obviously a lot of dancers would love to have that studio training life as well as that high school Friday night lights, Saturday night lights, bonding, all of that fun stuff. I can see the benefits of both sides. Um, Now, what I've experienced in my past and I've heard of is where it gets troubling is when the coaches do have a hard time meeting in the middle, or communicating is a big one, because then what happens is you're communicating through the athlete, which is putting them in the middle, and then them doing 3 to 5 dance team, 5:30 to 9 o'clock studio. They're getting burnt out, and that's going to be something that adds on to that burnout as well too. I've seen it so many times, it's scary.
I'll add another layer onto that. Our high school is a magnet high school, and one of our magnets is a performing arts magnet. So I have girls on my team who not only are they dancing all day at school, they then have dance team, and then they go to studio. So it is a very fine balance we deal with a lot of overuse injuries, to be honest, to figure out that balance. About half my team is made up of the performing arts girls. As of right now, it does ebb and flow. But the one thing that I have always tried to do is express to the girls, like, you can do both. I am more than happy to hop on a call with the studio owner and say, this is what our standard schedule is. I work a full-time job that's outside of being a teacher. It's just like a full-time corporate thing. So we only practice Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And we have a very we don't move around. It's very set up so the girls can do multiple things. They always know what their schedule is. We have our competitions planned throughout the entire season. They know what days we have choreography months in advance, because that's the only way that I can help my girls be able to balance it all. I will say that there are quite a few studios in my area that are not willing to play in the sandbox when it comes to that. I have quite a few athletes that have expressed to me that they would love to dance for Dazzlers, but they just can't make it work with their studio. I've called studio owners to talk about hey, how can we make this work? And they're like, your schedule sounds great, but these kids are here at my studio from 3:30 to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday and every Sunday. So it's really unfortunate, and it's because they don't see the value in high school dance. When there's so much value in both. High school dance teaches the girls how to be brand ambassadors essentially for a program, and the game day experience, and studio dance does the artistry, and they get that training day in and day out. So it's just really important to be cohesive. So I think that is kind of my biggest barrier right now.
Absolutely. I have one. And I was about to say, Ashley, I would like to bring you into this conversation, but I wanted to add on to that because I agree with what you said, Kirstie, but then I have a point of me that also disagrees a little bit as well too. And I'll tell you why. What I see when I look in high school now, keep in mind I didn't dance in high school, nor did I ever want it to be seen on my high school's cheer team or dance team. So I my high school life was I was a track runner, I was an athlete. Now when I look at high school and I think about what high school provides, for me, I see a lot of time management. You have to learn how to manage your homework time, your study time, and your practice time. But then as well, too, you get that game day life, which is the only thing, in my opinion, that studio dance cannot offer. I think when you are a dancer at a studio, you are also a brand ambassador. You learn time management, you learn professionalism, you learn all of those things, right? But that's just me, and if anyone disagrees, you could say so. But I wanted to bring in Ashley on this point because I did not know this about your studio actually until you texted me earlier, and I would love just your perspective and point of view, because you are a studio that does not allow your dancers to go to high school. So if you want to like branch on that, please feel free.
Yeah, and I just want to start by I respect what everyone's like rules are, what you guys are saying, and as a studio owner, like I see both sides. And again, we're from New Jersey. I own the Source Dance Lab. I didn't say that to begin with, but in our area, it's very different from what you guys are expressing. Like we have a dance studio on every single corner. It's like a nail salon, like where we are. Our studio overlooks the George Washington Bridge, so it is so easy for our kids just go to Broadway Dance Center, Brick House, Perry Dance Steps, like whenever they want. Like so, we try to find the balance. Like our kids this season, they're off Mondays, Fridays, and Sundays. So we try to find the balance that if they want to go to those Friday night games and have like that high school pep rally experience, they can. But also in our area, like a lot of our fields don't even have Friday night. Like we don't have lights on our fields. It's just, it's different where we are because
Mhm.
it's so city like. But yes, in our contracts, our kids cannot be on any other team if you are competing with us. And there's a few reasons. The first one always is injury and burnout because when we first opened our business 11 years ago, we tried it and too many kids were getting hurt, whether with us and then we were hurting the other team or vice versa. So that was the first thing. Then burnout, we saw kids reach that, I think one of you said it about they reach that like freshman sophomore year and they want to try everything because everything is so new to them, but then by junior year they're over everything and they quit everything. And I was like, okay, so we're losing passion here because there's too much on their plate. Mom and dad aren't saying no, we're not guiding them. And I feel like sometimes kids spend more time with us studio owners or dance team coaches at their high school than they do their actual parents. So sometimes we have to step in and do the job that the parents should be doing. And and listen, it's hard to be a parent. And I'm a new parent, but it's very hard. You don't want to tell your kid no and you want them to try everything, and we get that, but sometimes we just felt like we had to put our foot down somewhere. And that's why we started offering all those different paths. And because we offer that, I feel like our situation is a little bit more unique because that experience you're talking about, they do get at our studio, except that Friday night lights, like that game day on the field. Our kids can do fall sports. So I have there are three sisters. They do varsity cheer, but they know that if we need to have a mandatory practice, like, and our schedule's like out for the year. Like we schedule them from June of 2025 to June of 2026. So they give their schedule to their high school coach and they say, listen, these are my mandatory days I can't miss. So we do try to find a balance. But when we hit our winter, like competitive season, we can't allow it. Another of reason for us is, there's one Catholic, they're the Holy Angels. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
Love Holy
So
Angels.
yes, fantastic, fantastic dancers. Jenny Sweet runs an amazing program, but they're about like 20 minutes from us. Our kids like can't, like, if her kids want to come to my studio, she can't even allow it if they want to be on her dance team just because she runs her dance team, and luckily she has the backing for it, like a dance studio every day after school. Like they go and they take 3 ballet classes a week. They're taking classes. Our area is just different and it's unique. But um Kirstie, am I saying your name right? Kirstie? I think you're doing the right thing as a studio owner, reaching out. I think that's really nice of you. That doesn't happen in our area. Everyone's so defensive here, whether they're a studio owner or a dance team coach. Our dance teams around here just aren't highly competitive, except Holy Angels. Like if you want to go to a great like high school dance team, it is Holy Angels in our area. Everyone else, it's really for kids that like they just can't afford studio life, and it's just kind of how our area is. But I think that what you're doing is right. Maybe next season, maybe call them before your next season starts to be like, hey, can I switch around my days? And maybe that will help you. I think it's fair, like what you're doing too. And I think 3 days of practice is, I think it's fair.
There, I heard it twice already and I already want to bring it up, but it's the injury aspect when it comes to when you're doing studio dance and high school dance. And So I would like to hear everyone's perspective, or if you have a perspective of it, of if you feel like this is coming from overuse of the athlete's body. They're putting their body in way too much work, and they're at school all day, so they're doing more than a full-time job, really, at that point. Um, or if your experience, if you ever seen that it comes from the education from the other coach as well too. I've been in a position where I've seen, especially for a lot of high schools, you don't get the funding. You can't pay for a highly educated coach all the time. So a lot of times they're bringing in what used to be a dance mom, or they danced 20 years ago and they have been out of the game for 20 years. Like, we've seen this happen a lot of times, right? Um, I'm in California, and my studio is in California. It's only cold here from about November to January. But for some reason, we always seemed to have the most injuries at that time frame. And I've noticed it because dancers aren't cooling down their bodies. They're leaving the studio hot, then they're walking out and it's cold and their body gets really tight. I've experienced this myself dancing as well too. So I would like to hear your guys' perspective of where we feel like those injuries are coming from, and if you've ever found ways to prevent that from happening. Like, how did you do that?
I feel like for us, I know like our busiest season, and it really is pretty much from like Thanksgiving until we go to high school nationals. And we'll communicate like if the girls like if it was a really tough practice of a lot of full outs and a lot of repetitive things, and like that night they go to the studio every night, we're doing like a recovery class, like or more like band work and ballet, like a yoga situation, just like to give their bodies a break. And we communicate really well, and I think the girls have learned to trust us enough to where they're open about my back's really hurting me today. I really like, and I'm very understanding because I don't want anyone to. We all love dance, we love the sport, we love the competition, but it is not worth like these big injuries. It's just not. So I think we work really well to keep them safe. But I do have kids from like other high school that come from other high schools that are on high school teams, and I know that's not the case for them. So I get them and they have knee injuries, ankle injuries, and I'm like, you can rest what you need to rest here, but like, what are you doing at practice? Oh, well, I'm going full out. I'm like, well, that's not gonna work.
And it's building a culture. Like, I hear like other teams saying like, how do you believe your dancers are really injured? How do you know that they're not, just faking or whatever? And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know, I have to have a few of those. But now I feel like I've gotten to the point, and it's a culture slash respect thing or whatever, I guess. And also they're kids, so sometimes like I am like, oh, they're like, oh, my ankle hurts. I'm like, oh, mine too. You gotta do that, like how you treat the 4-year-olds in ballet class.
And I think someone, when you were talking about like the Friday Night Light situation, and it's not big there, we're like in Southwest Louisiana, and it's just like football is everything. You better be there on Friday night. The one high school in the town, the hometown football team, like
everybody's there.
Everybody, you will literally see every single person you know in your whole life in that football stadium, and it is lit up. Like it is a huge deal. And so I do see like now. It really is, but it really is such a Southern thing, and I love it. But I do understand how like probably no one probably
everybody
cares
sees this on Instagram and they're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, for us, the injury, we see it. I think a lot with this generation, they don't know how to warm up properly. Not my younger ones. We make sure we warm them up. We do the isolation work. We're known for hip hop, the best at our studio. So, we go through all the waves and like the chest popping and the box. But my older ones sometimes, and you guys, sometimes you're like, can you guys please start to stretch so that way, like, I can get the music ready? And, when the day is just, going. And I'll turn around and they're in like a butterfly, but they're like talking.
Butterfly for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you do? They're like, oh, I'm my
half split.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the first thing. They don't know how to stretch independently, and not because we're not teaching them, but because they're kids and teenagers, and let's be honest, like, they're lazy and they want to just dance, right? I think that comes from this generation of social media getting things quick. So they want to hop past the warm up so that way they could just get to the moves and the fun stuff. Which, listen, we all want to do that too because that's the best part of our job, right? Like creating and putting this all together. But I definitely think injury starts there. And then it ends when they go home and they don't decompress their bodies. But like Holly Beth said, I think it's their minds as well too. Like they, whether they're just scrolling instead of like taking that Epsom salt bath or like,
Mm-hmm.
just even as simple as just like, I know they're going to be like, if my kids see this, we make read a book, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get your mind somewhere else that has nothing to do with the art of dance for a
Mm-hmm.
second to just let it go. So that way the next day, your creative cup is filled. Like all of us being adults, when your cup is like, you're like, oh man, I'm feeling it. And like, what do we do? Like, you turn off the dance part and you do something that's like, I don't know, for me, like I love to write. Like that's my other passion. And I just write. I just write little things, like little articles. Um, but I definitely think it comes from that. And then I think a little bit for me, because I'm a studio owner, I think sometimes the parents they keep pushing them on their days off to continue to dance, and I'm purposely giving them that Monday, Friday, Sunday off. And listen, my kids can go take class. You want to enhance, you want to go to a convention. That's not against any rules at our studio. The more training, the better. It makes our job better. But you have to pick at least one day for your kid, whether they're a mini or a senior, that they just need to be a kid that day. And I think that we're losing that, and that's why we see more injury of it's more overuse. And then when it comes to injuries, like Bryce and Holly Beth said, like I don't play around. Like if they tell me, like even if their toe hurts, I'm like, you know what, sit out. Like, is it really worth it that day? It's not, like, because that can turn into something else. But my kids, and maybe because one, they're paying all-star prices, or two, they just really love what they do. They don't want to miss out, so they're not gonna lie.
Well, we had a kid who had a back injury, and she never missed, like she would sit out at practice and then she would still come to the studio. She never missed a day at the studio, and she couldn't, for the longest time, she couldn't do anything. She just sat there, but she sat there and like supported the girls who were still taking class or were on her team. And I always just found that so admirable. Holly Beth's niece did the same thing. She had surgery, I think, like in March or April, and we have recital in May. And she was like 2 weeks after her surgery, was up at the studio on her crutches, still in class, asking how she could help with anything that we needed. So I think like for studio, like my goal was to make it a place where they felt like it was like a home, a second home for them, because that's how I felt in my studio growing up. And I feel like that has really happened, and no matter what, they just like want to be there all the time, and I love that
Yeah.
about them.
I'm
So
just going to add to that because I think that's so important too. Is that I don't want them to be afraid to tell me they're sick
mhm.
or they're injured. And if we get mad at them every single time something's wrong, they're going to lie to us. And I don't want that environment. And my kids know no matter what it is, they can call me, like, or they can pull me over and, like, I'm not feeling good right now. And, like, I've become a nurse. I don't have my degree in nursing. I know I've become a physical therapist.
All the hats, all the hats.
Everything,
A therapist,
but
everything.
everything. But I like that they feel that safe, and I think that's important. What you said, like I didn't have that growing up. Like your coaches just were like, "Oh, you're dancing on concrete. Who cares about your knees?" And now I'm 33, and I'm like, "Wow, I wish someone cared about us." Right. So
Thank
I
you.
think having that safe space is just so important, so for your athletes to trust you.
Mhm.
Us being a public high school, we're in a really interesting position because we do have athletic trainers that our girls go see quite frequently. One thing we had to teach them how to do is a dynamic warm up. Like the first thing we do whenever they come into the program is we go through what our standard warm up is, and it's not just static stretching. It's getting up and moving, and leg swings and jump squats and things to get them up and moving. But then we have them have full access to our athletic trainers. So for example, we just came out of choreo weekend. We had pom and game day choreo back to back. So a lot of my girls are feeling tight. Today we had media day, which is just photos. So the girls all went down and they had, they got cupped, they got scraped, some girls got stems. So really, really promoting rehab, I'm a prime example. I just had a hip replacement back in December. So I really preach to the girls, you don't you want to rehab your body. It is important to take care of your body. It's important to listen to your body. But they also, I don't really have to worry about them coming up and saying, oh, this hurts because they just want to be out of something, because the girls hold them accountable. They're like, if it's really bothering you that bad, go talk to Kirstie, because I'll go set you up with the trainer. We don't mess with injuries.
Okay, I want to go into the hot topic of the conversation that really even started the inspiration for this call in the first place, which is the direction for dancers to go if they want to go onto an elite college dance team. And I think when people think elite, their minds immediately go to Minnesota, Ohio, LSU, but not realizing elite goes even further beyond that. You have Texas Tech, you have Arizona State, you have K-State, you have WSU. There are so many elite teams. And the conversation started going from, you have to be at a studio during your high school years, growing up in a studio, to make it onto this team. And so that leads me into what your guys' perspective is. And I feel like this is going to be a long, long topic right here. So we could all dive into it. But I would just love to know, what have you guys seen? I mean, dancing professionally, dancing in college, and your upbringing, and then what you see in athletes that are now looking to transition, and what best practices, I guess we could say,
I love
would
when
be.
we all say hot topic, we all know exactly what he's talking about.
We knew. We already knew it was coming. I love it.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we also opened up another company last year because we don't wear enough hats. And it's called D1 University. And it's basically a college prep convention on the East Coast. We're New Jersey based. Not a lot of college conventions, and the prep stuff doesn't come out here for some reason. So we said, you know what, let's start it and let's bring teams to us. We just had our event 2 weekends ago. We had 13 colleges out. From Kentucky all the way to Texas Tech, UNLV, Minnesota, Ohio, anybody that wants to come, I'm like, yes. If I can get in touch with an alumni, a coach, I don't care. I don't care if you go to NDA or UDA. Let's just get people to the East Coast to see these kids. So that has really opened our eyes to this whole recruiting process. But from what I've learned from all the, whether it's current athletes, coaches, assistant coaches, alumni, they don't care whether you're a studio or a high school dancer. They just want, number one, that you're dancing. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you're willing to go to their school, because I think that sometimes kids think that it's not a reachable goal, and then when they see them in live person, they're like, oh, they're real people. I'm like, yes, they want you to learn from them, and I think that gets misconstrued. But the recruitment process, I'm going to say, is different from every school. And I agree with some and I don't agree with others, but it's just, my opinion. And I don't own a college, so I feel like I'm not, I
Yet.
can't really say much. Yeah, I don't know how many more things I'm going to own. For those who own studios, it's a labor of love. I still live in the same apartment we did 10 years ago because everything goes to our studio. So D1 and being in that recruitment college scene and just showing kids they can get to their next four, it's reignited this passion of why we even do this.
I wanna add on to that, because I'm a big statistics person. I like to look at numbers. I like to see scores. I like to break them down. And one thing that I've been seeing, it just recently started going around on Instagram, is the get to know our team, where they're sharing those statistics, and we're seeing where are these athletes coming from? How many are out of state? How many are coming from high school versus studio versus all-star, which I don't understand why we're still just not calling it all studio. But that's just my take. It brings me to the question of when we're seeing these numbers and we're looking at these statistics and we're seeing that 14% are coming from high school, but the other 86% are coming from studio. What does that look like to an athlete that wants to go to this college? And what is that saying to those athletes versus what are the coaches saying when they're speaking about the subject as well too? Dance Team Union regional competitions are unlike any other. DTU has created an atmosphere that is not only friendly and competitive, but brings your community together to support one another in a sport you all share and love. DTU values innovation and the determination to create. Your team spend hours perfecting material and pushing the boundaries for choreography. It does not go unnoticed at Dance Team Union. At DTU, you do not go home empty-handed. They award placements in every division for every routine, select special awards to standout routines, and offer partial paid bids to our Dance Team Union National Championships and All-Star Worlds with their partners at the Open Championship Series. So what are you waiting for? Find out when they will be heading to a city near you for their 10th season by visiting www.danceteamunion.com.
This is a great conversation, and I've learned so much in the past few years as this culture has grown. And obviously, as a studio owner, I love hearing that these girls are dancing at their studio, but more so than a dance team at high school. But that just makes sense too, because the more training that you're getting, the better. And so, being in that ballet class is so important. And I think what I'm looking at and seeing and hearing is that it's really the dancers who can go and be adaptable who are going in, not one trick ponies, literally. Sometimes it's the kids that are adaptable and can be a chameleon and can pick up on details. And a lot of times you're learning that by being in different styles of dance, which is happening at the studio. And I hear what you say about how they're breaking down the statistics and, they're saying studio versus all-star. I do find that valuable because all-star is a growing thing. And I have a lot of parents saying, do I need to go to all-star versus studio? And I think both have value. But I do like that they're breaking that down in the statistics because that's mattering to some of our parents, sometimes more of our parents than our actual dancers. And so I do like seeing that, but it just makes sense. Studio dancers, you're taking weekly class, you're taking ballet, you're taking modern, you're going to be versatile and pick up on things. And that's attractive to coaches.
Now that leads me to like the magnet program for a lot of schools as well too. Like a magnet program can offer that, but we're not categorizing that as a studio, right? Do we see like I'm not too familiar with magnet programs. I've just been like really learning about them, but I heard someone brought them up earlier. So if you want to share your perspective, go ahead. But do we see like that magnet program being beneficial to dancers training to want to go and dance at a higher level?
It depends on what the school is, to be honest. So DuPont, like I said, is a magnet high school, and one of our magnets is a performing arts. That being said, you do not have to have a strong dance background to be in the dance magnet. Now, a lot of the people that do go to the dance magnet do have a strong dance background. They've been in studio. They went to the middle schools that have magnets specifically for dance. But we do a team technique that is led by an outside instructor that focuses on ballet and stamina training as well through dance, because they don't get that ballet that they need at their magnet, at the performing arts magnet. It focuses more on contemporary, but that's just our magnet. Their contemporary and modern style is mainly what the magnet focuses on. So it may be different for other magnets. I know that there are some really, really well-known high school dance teams that are performing arts high schools that I have no doubt at all that they're getting that more intense training that is very studio-like. That's just not the magnet at my high school.
I've noticed, and I would like to know, like, and I guess like with that statistic, I don't know, because when I see studio or dancers getting recruited and they'll like list their studio or whatever, and then like I go look at their Instagram, they actually are on a high school team. but they either did they not list that high school team, or they just not on a high school team that competes. I just I where my this recruitment thing is, I say lots of prayers about it. I do, because I just want what's best for the kids. And sometimes we had a meeting the other day with our seniors, going in, and I was like, I need you to lay out your current goals. Like, we need to narrow the top, 5 down. I need to proof those emails. I need to know where we're going. And whatever. And the struggle with being on a high school team versus, and I know a lot of studios, like especially with Ashley Studio, like they do weekends, like a lot of weekends also, absolutely. But I see high school teams, and then that do like high school and studio or whatever. There's no time for these kids to go to a recruitment clinic. There's no
Hmm.
time. They struggle with that. And so I feel like if they do one or the other, maybe there's more time. But like, one of them, I can't even remember what college, has their, like, well, their one fall recruitment clinic. Well, it's on the one weekend we're doing competition choreography. And so it's, she's having to like make up for that, send emails, post things, send videos, do all this, da 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 da. And it's just hard. And so
And
I
we're telling her like, you can't make the clinic. Like, this is just what we think you should do. Email,
yeah,
send this video, whatever.
I
We
don't know if
don't
it's
know if
right.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's what's
So
hard. It's like, we don't even know. And even when you think you know, you still don't know, because
It's so gray.
everyone's just doing whatever they want and what works for them. And to be honest, it's just like, I feel like a lot of these teams probably have like their recruits picked out for the next 4
Yep.
years, and it is so
Say
hard.
four, but yep.
I feel like for these kids from, like, for us, small town in Southwest Louisiana, where we give them as much opportunity as possible, but also like to travel to these things every other weekend is expensive.
So
And it's you're
financial.
asking
Maxed
so
out every
much of
credit
these
card.
families, and it's just like, to do all that and then for it still not to happen, and then your kid's devastated, and then like all of the submission dates overlap, and it's like, you have an offer from this school, but you're still waiting to hear from this school who was supposed to tell you an answer 2 months ago but still hasn't told you anything. So you're like, do I take this offer or do I hold out for my dream school? No, I'm going to email them and ask them, hey, haven't heard back from you, like, can you give me any guidance? Oh, we're not going to take you. So now
Yeah.
that kid's crushed, and she's like, let me look at my other options, and I have a month pretty much to figure it out.
I get it. And I'll add on something really, really quick. No, you're fine. I just want to add on. I will say, because the recruitment life is scary, and I feel for this generation now because it's so much pressure. Just for anyone that is watching and also has this question, I'm very thankful about the common recruitment video that is coming out. And I feel like that alone is going to regulate so much. Anytime I have a dancer now that is like stressed about it, I send them directly to that. Look at the college list. Do you not see it? Email the coach. Hey, I'm looking at the common recruitment video. Are you planning on joining it? I'm a junior. I'm looking for like these questions, right? That they want to ask. So I definitely agree with you. Ashley, I'll let you. I have a topic that I want to go to Shanna right after, but sorry, not Courtney, Ashley. I'll let Catchney. I'll let you go.
So quickly, that's why we started D1U, because it was so expensive for the area that we're in for our kids to travel all over the United States. So our whole thing is bringing college recruitment to New Jersey, so you have to do less travel. So that way, let's say, I don't know, Ole Miss comes and you weren't even thinking that you like that school. Now you're like, okay, I can cancel out A, B, and C, and I just want to now get my plane ticket to Ole Miss, and now I don't even have to check out there because D1 brought all these people. And
Yeah.
what we do is you have the colleges teaching the classes, not me and Courtney. Why do they got to learn from me? They can come to my studio. They got to learn from the people that they're going to be, and they get that real feel. So that's the first thing. The second thing is what Bryce was saying about the deadlines. This was a big question. We have a big Q&A at the end of our event each day with the colleges and the coaches and the parents, and the kids sit in and ask all these questions. And like I'm going to use UNLV because I thought this was really smart. They're having their auditions the beginning of March. So I was like, why are you guys doing that? They're like, because these kids need to know if they make the team. If we do it in May and they don't even know if they got on the team, and then submit deadlines to commit to the college is May 1st, like we're screwing ourselves out as a college team. So I think if colleges start to move their dates actually up, it will help that stress for the kids all around.
Hmm.
I think that that's like a really, really big thing. And then lastly, with the Common Recruit app, I think it's good, but there's already been complaints just from the D1 university like event of how many submissions like is it going to get to? How are they going to buffer through these 1,000 kids? So I hope that they just find a way to filter so these kids aren't just submitting with false hope. I think it's
Hmm.
a great idea. I just think that there's going to have to be bugs just like kind of figured out for the kids.
And
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that the common recruitment video is going to be your ticket into a school. I feel like that's going to
No.
be a way that if you are at, let's say, a recruitment clinic and they see number 57, she's really good, they go look at the recruitment video. Oh, she's listed right there. She's interested. It gives them like a lean in. So that's kind of my
Oh,
perspective on it. But
take
anyways,
on it.
yeah.
Cool.
So Shanna, I want to go back to the all-star versus studio thing. This is something I'm very passionate about, just saying. And how we're calling it, like why we call all-star studio all-star versus dance studio,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I can see why for some that would be important, and I can see why for like my experience that's not an important key tip. Reason being is I say my because I'm still like my heart's still with the studio, but I retired back in October. But my kids, they would come in and they would train like a studio. They would do ballet weekly, they would do their jazz class weekly, they would do their hip hop, they would do all of the studio classes. Now, we so happen to compete at all-star events. However, we also compete at studio events as well too. So that's where I start to go in and I'm like, why are we calling All-Star All-Star? Why aren't we calling it a dance studio? Because it's a dance studio. And I personally think the All-Star name just kind of adopted from cheer and we have yet to let it go. And I think it's just dance. I think everything is just dance unless it's like industry or commercial. Then of course we're gonna change it up a little bit. But that's like my perspective on it and why I push back a little bit when people say like all-star versus studio.
Yeah, I totally see your perspective, and I think I agree with that. It's parents, it's our market that is gravitating towards it. So even though you and I and being dance professionals, we see it's more similar than different. Parents don't see that. And so that's the difference. I would say, going to studio contest, you are going to see more of that artistry side and creativity side than you would, and so that's a difference that I do think is valid. And I think that's what parents see. And so I'm big on marketing. I'm not in the classroom anymore. I'm running multiple locations of business. And so I'm listening to what parents are saying, and they're saying, do I need to go to an all-star studio? They're the ones who are, in our case, they think they're the only ones making our high school drill team. We have a 95% success rate getting on our high caliber dance team at our high school. So it's a perception thing and it's a marketing thing.
How do you support your athletes in the recruitment process? Now, I say this meaning one, do you only really promote that recruitment college life, or additionally, are we also educating dancers about pro life, industry life, commercial life, tour life, residency? Like, are we really exploring those avenues, right?
So that kind of starts when my studio kids are young. I have a 12-year-old. She got signed by Clear Talent Agency when she was 9. So that already kind of boosted her into the industry.
Mhm.
That's what we call it, the industry life. And she books jobs and gigs from there. She switched over to MSA last year. She's been on a few commercials. She's on a job tonight. And she when you're signed by an agency, and in that industry life, that will just take you into your adulthood as long as, you're replying to jobs. So, at our studio, when they have open auditions or kids are asking, I want my daughter to be exposed to this, we just kind of sit down with the parent or send them the information via email, what we know industry wise. I have a kid, she doesn't want to dance in college right now, but instead she's going to be dancing in Arizona under one of the Paris, no, yeah, the royal families. Like he trains under them, but
Yeah.
she'll be with him and doing shows like Carnival out there, and we hooked her up with him. So we do expose them. I'm not gonna say that we sit down with everybody. It's really ones that are bringing it to us, and then we give them all the information that we know.
Go ahead, Shanna.
Really specific with this because I want dancers to see that there's many pathways to get to their goals. And so every other year we've been bringing in a panel of professionals from different styles of dance, from Broadway, from pro teams, like the gamut, and showing them. Showing them the opportunities that they have in dance. And then this year I took a tour of Revolution Costumes, and I was like, oh my goodness, we got to get somebody from Revolution Costumes in here, because these are former dancers who are designing costumes or the director of marketing for Revolution Costumes. And that's another career pathway that I want to introduce to our dancers.
Industry is not like being in the industry is not a huge thing, at least that I've experienced a lot in the 9 years. College dance is our main thing, and we've had 9 or 10 dancers go to dance for D1A or D1 programs. We've had a couple go into pro after college, but the main conversation we have with them starting early their junior year is what does your future look like? We do have a lot of girls that stop dancing after high school because they've reached the levels that they want to reach in dance, quite frankly, and now they want to join a sorority and feel that life.
Yeah.
But we do have I think the biggest thing is having relationships, at least in my space, relationships with the college coaches that I know that my girls want to go to. I have a relationship with pretty much every college coach that's local to our area. So you see a lot of my dancers on University of Louisville, University of Kentucky, University of Cincinnati, etc.
And like open communication is such a huge thing. And also, like, when they bring you what they want, just be supportive of what they want. I always share my story with my girls, and like share my path, and like how it all laid out beautifully for where I am today. But in making them understand that they support each other. They're not competing against each other within this whole recruitment thing. I have 5 very talented seniors this year. I've never had a group like this. And I will say all 5 of them want to dance in college. But when we sat down the other day, one of them told me that she wanted to dance for a college I would have never thought. But that college is local and she wants to stay home. And that college has actually like taken the program in the last year and become more competitive, and like she's gonna hopefully make that team and get recruited by them, and like she can make an impact on them too. And I just being open and being very receptive to them, and then also being very realistic with their parents, because
Yeah.
they're as high anxiety as my 5 seniors are. They're that way because their moms are very high anxiety and they're stressed and they're worried. You know how many texts me and Bryce have gotten in the last like 2 weeks is like, what's this comment now, da 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 da, what do I do, oh my god, what, like all these things. So now we got this group chat and I'm just like, hey everybody, type like the parents need to be involved too, because one, they're paying for it more than likely. That's their baby. And the parents sometimes have blinders on. Your baby's not going to go dance for Ohio State or dance for Minnesota. And that's not the only 2 colleges that there are.
Yeah.
And industry is not a big thing in our area either. We do have a couple of like, we have the Saints and they could go be like on the Saints cheer, and Pelicans and just different things. But like we're looking at like UL Lafayette, LSU Tiger Girls, and like Ole Miss and Texas Tech, and like that's like if they want to stay home-ish, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I've seen several times. I mean, I feel like, especially in the studio life, I feel like we kind of see this very early on. Like, I've had dancers that would be 6, 7, 8 years old, and the parents are telling me how bad they want them to go and dance at the high school. And I'm like, your dancer is 6, 7, 8 years old. Why are we thinking about high school? Why are we thinking that? No, she can't even say pirouette.
I have some who are like, I want them to be able to either make the cheer team or make the dance team wherever they want to go for high school or college. And I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa, we're in third grade.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
I got it.
I'm just like, I feel like our little ones, when we start, when I open, like, and we're very new. I only opened, we're going into our 4th year. But I just knew that, like, I have a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they both love to be up there and they want to do the little competition team, but they also like want to have sleepovers and not be at the studio every single night of the week and like go to school and not be homeschooled. And I think like anything that you want to do is great, but I just like wanted it to be like, it is okay for this to just be for fun and just like loving the stage and like learning to just enjoy the art of dance and it not be about like we're gonna go to the competition and y'all are gonna be the only ones in your category and you're 6 years old and you're gonna get superstar high triple gold and a 10-foot trophy and y'all are gonna be so happy about it. And now all they want to do, now they're all in 3rd grade and like 4th grade, and now they're like, we want private lessons. I just feel like it makes them like, it's slowly getting them into that and making them love it and have fun first. It just like, it creates something to where like now they really want to work hard now that they're like 9, 10 years old.
And the
Because like
fire stays lit. They have to keep
yeah,
that fire
you
lit.
did. So many
Yeah.
kids I feel like are burning out like so young, and I'm just like, I didn't even do a solo till I was in 4th grade, and now
Yeah.
people are like 5, and I couldn't imagine my 6-year-old doing a solo. Holy smokes!
Yeah, I feel like on top of that, like from that 6, 7, 8 years old, where it was like, I really want them to go to high school, with college dance exploding in these past 4 or 5 years, now it's turned into like that 6, 7, 8 year old mom saying, I need my dancer to go to ASU, Ohio State, LSU, Florida. Like I've been seeing that happen a lot. Do we feel like, and just really quick, because I know it's getting late for some of you guys over there on the East Coast. So if you ever just need to like hop off, please feel free. I only plan to do like 15, probably 10 more minutes, FYI. But we're having great conversations, so I could go all night. But that's just me. We could take dance all night. I'm fine with that. Anyways, do we see that burnout coming from a lot of that parent pressure? I have seen this a lot in my days where, we were just talking about it earlier. You can tell when a dancer needs a weekend off or a day off. And I've always been the coach where I'm like, be open and honest with me. If you need a day off, and if you're coming into practice and you know that your mood and your energy is going to ruin the culture of the studio in that moment, let me know, stay home. But I've seen parents where it's like, my dancer's not feeling good today, but I'm going to bring her to the studio anyways. She had a rough day, but we're at the studio anyways. And I'm like, no, if I would have called in sick at work, let her call in sick at work, please. Do not make her come.
Mental health day for me.
No, and it's very, the mental health part, that is, I feel like if you have a strong mental health and you know how to coach mental health and educate mental health, you can avoid a lot of that burnout.
I shook my head a lot when you said it was the parents, but then I'm like, it's a mixture of the parents and then also a mixture of social media at such a young age too.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not, it used to be just parents. And then if they had like a crazy studio owner or anything, it used to just be that. But now it's parents are on social media because let's be honest, everybody has TikTok. Everybody sees Ohio State, Minnesota. Everybody sees that and they want that for their kid. And 2, it's the kids comparing each other. I sit and as a parent, I watch the dance awards videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, my 8-year-old is still struggling picking up this basic choreography, and then they've got this 8-year-old that is better than some of my high school kids, and is a better technician, and it's just such a comparative world within the dancers themselves and the parents now. And I will say it's social media. Like it is. And and it's the best thing. I love social media because it's just a double-edged sword. I think that's what it is. I'm not good with metaphors and stuff. I teach geometry. I don't know. I don't know.
Also think it comes down to putting limits, and not limits like on the children. I mean limits even on the parents. So for an example, for the convention that we're running, it is not for, it's only for 12 years old and up, and the only reason why it's 12 is because some 12-year-olds are 12 going to be in 8th grade, and it just depends on the birth date. But I've had so many people email me. My 9-year-old is a highly competitive, triple crown, whatever.
Girl.
Yeah. Can she can handle herself? Can she come? She really wants to see this college. And I said, come back in 3 more years. It's 12. And at my
Go to
studio,
the
it's
children's museum.
correct. Yeah. Or go to a football game and watch them on the fields. I also think it's the same thing with my studio, and I put limits on the hours. You know, my minis shouldn't be dancing as long as my seniors. That's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is I make them work for it. When you join my studio, you just don't get a solo like that. Like Bryce said, work them up. And I think so many studios now are either just trying to stay alive since COVID, really, and they want to give because they think it's going to satisfy and keep the parents happy and the kids going. And what we're doing is we're just hurting the art of it, and we're not doing that inspiring thing. We're not inspiring them to get better and to keep, you know what, next year I'm going to have the solo. And I think that we need to start as studio owners, dance coaches, just artists in general. We have to be the ones that brings our art back to how we grew up and how, we worked for it.
Ashley, I was talking to a
Thank you.
competition this weekend at a convention I was at, and I was like, somebody's got to go first to break these patterns that we are in and
Yes.
be brave to do that, and then others will thank them and follow, because a lot of times
Yes.
we're studio owners or teams or competitions, they're scared to do it because it's not the culture. It's up to us to change that culture. Somebody's got to go
We
first.
have to. Yes. I agree.
I appreciate all of you for this is going to be my longest podcast episode, and I'm very excited.
Yes.
But I feel like everything that was said in here, I feel like there's someone out there that can relate to at least one of you. And I know that there are, especially in this era of dance that we're in, I know a lot of coaches are going to appreciate this as well too, because I know it's easy to feel like you're alone at times and you don't realize that there's so many other people going through the exact same thing. You're probably crying in your pillow at the exact same time at night. Like, we get it. We've all been there. But I just want to say that I appreciate each of you for hopping in and sharing your perspective and your insight into our dance world. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the No Counts Given podcast. Listen, I forgot to say it in the intro. I know. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, send it to your friends, send it to your followers, send it to your grandma, send it to your granddad, send it to anybody that has thumbs, could click play and watch the video, and someone who is in that dance circle. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you are watching this. And yeah, thank you. Bye.